Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Let the filibustering begin.
Welcome to Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to Filibuster here on the Nerd Party Network. I'm Lee Hutchison, back again. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at /The Nerd Party, on Twitter at Join Nerd Party, and at thenerdparty.com. So, joining me on the pod phone today is actor Andrei Lenart, and I'm excited to share our interview with you folk. Andrei is a Slovenian actor who has the type of career that most of us geeks would kill for. Andrei has been the body double for Chris Hemsworth as Thor in Thor 2 and Age of Ultron, and shares what it's like trying on that costume and being on set and working with the lovely Chris Hemsworth. He's also appeared in Kingsman and talks about working with director Matthew Vaughn, doing voice work on Assassin's Creed, and shares his experience auditioning for Star Wars The Force Awakens and being on set with Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, R2-D2, C-3PO, and what J.J. Abrams was like as a director on set. Thank you so much to Andrei for joining me on the show this week. And if you love our Star Wars chat, be sure to check out the 2 Star Wars dedicated podcasts here on the Nerd Party. Aggressive Negotiations with Matt Rushing and John Mills, where they deep dive into the series, and Great Shot Kid with John and Mike Schindler, looking at the creators of Star Wars. And if you enjoy our discussion today, be sure to share with your friends, and if you can leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, it helps us bring the show to new fans and listeners. I hope you'll enjoy this interview as much as I enjoyed taking part in it. And be sure to let me know what you think on the Nerd Party. Enjoy the show. So yeah, thank you for joining me today. I just wanted to kind of start off with a bit of your origin story. So kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into acting and what sort of started you on that road.
So yeah, thanks for inviting me. I come from Ljubljana, Slovenia, a small little town. I mean, it's a capital of Slovenia, but still Slovenia is a little country. I was interested in acting since young age, but let's say, elementary school. Because earlier on, I was like the opposite of that. I wouldn't like to do performances for parents, things like that. And the thing was, I was so nervous when that was happening that I just didn't want to do it. But then, I don't know, at some point in elementary school, I just had that switch and I started enjoying it. Later on, I went to study in London. I studied film and TV production because it wasn't just acting that I was interested in. I had so many different interests that I just didn't know which one I wanted to pursue. And at the end, I just decided to do film and TV production in London at University of Greenwich, which was a great decision. I mean, the study itself was interesting, but then it was kind of an entry point for me into this film industry world. And I got the opportunity to assist on films like Thor: The Dark World, which I'm a massive fan of Marvel films. So for me, being on the set of Thor, actually seeing my favorite character in action, seeing how it all works was, an awesome experience. Yeah,
because obviously you've got a bit of history with the character, which we can certainly touch on later, because it must have been a surreal experience, because quite a bit of Thor itself is kind of shot in around the Greenwich Village, the Greenwich area of London, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So I was studying at University of Greenwich, so pretty much on our campus. There's that scene when the alien ship lands.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so it was happening on our campus. And for me, it was, when I was younger, I would, when we used to borrow DVDs, rent them out, and I would always stay up that additional hour and watch the making of and behind the scenes footage. For me, that was like behind the scenes, but 24/7, just being on the set and seeing how it all works and just being a part of it. So yeah, it was surreal.
So what is it like to be involved in kind of, you were saying that you are involved on Thor 2. What was it like to be on the set of a Marvel movie? Was it one of those moments you felt like, oh my God, I've arrived here as kind of an actor, a creative talent? What was that feeling like?
I mean, it was amazing, especially because I would say 5 years ago, I had that mindset. Oh, once in my lifetime, I would love to work on a big Hollywood film. Just holding cables or picking up litter. I think it was like 6 years ago when I visited Tunisia, and we visited one of the sets that they filmed Star Wars
Oh wow.
on. I think it was Phantom Menace.
Yeah,
And
I think so. Yeah.
That was before I moved to London. That was when like I said, I had that mindset. Once in my lifetime, I would love to be a part of something like this. Just picking up litter, just doing anything. And for me, Thor 2, Thor: The Dark World, was that moment. On my first day, there was nothing on location that you would say, oh, they're going to be filming a film here. It was just casual day on University of Greenwich campus. But I was setting up the fences for the unit village, for the costume and all that stuff. And for me, that day was like, oh my God, I'm working on a Disney film, I'm working on a Marvel film, and I was just setting up fences. It could be anything, it could be a construction work. But for me, that was an incredible filming. And then from day to day, it just got better and better, and it was just amazing.
And what was it about that made it kind of better and better? Was like, because I know for myself that I live in Edinburgh, and we've recently just had the Infinity Wars shoot taking place here. All the actors appearing, kind of walking down what's like a walk to work, and it's like, oh my God, they're shooting an Avengers movie. Go figure. Like, what was that kind of like when you're kind of going on it day to day? What were some of the stories that you can kind of remember from being there?
So I don't know. Like one day I would be opening door for Natalie Portman. The other day I was there early in the morning, just making sure that none of the random passerbys would walk on set. And at some point I see this young kid, school kid, just sitting under the stairs with his school bag. I thought, I don't know, maybe he's lost. I better ask him. He's like, no, I'm waiting for him. Who? I'm waiting for Thor. Okay. And he asks me, do you know when he's gonna arrive? I had no idea, honestly. So I said, look, I mean, if he doesn't arrive before your school time, come back at this time, and he should be here. And just like 5 minutes before that little kid had to go to school, black Mercedes stops in front of us. Chris Hemsworth steps out, full Thor costume.
Oh wow! I can't imagine coming out of a Mercedes like that. That's amazing.
So it was me. It was that little kid, and it was Chris Hemsworth. And I mean, it was a surreal moment for me. I can't imagine how surreal it must have been for that little kid. And I loved how Chris would take 5 minutes, just chat with him, and then his assistant will have to tell him, "Oh, we have to move on. We have to do some work." But yeah, I like how down to earth Chris is, and I think he really appreciates how he can do what he does because of people that watch the content, because of fans. And he's just having fun, and this is kind of the way I want to be in this industry.
That's awesome, because I couldn't help but whenever we get a guest on, always kind of deep dive into their resumes, and I couldn't help but notice you've got kind of the honour of being his hand double in Avengers 2 and a double for him in the Huntsman movie. So how did you kind of go from sort of working together on sort of the sets to being sort of filling in for Chris Hemsworth? That must be a bit of an ego boost if you've ever wanted one.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, my favorite Marvel character was Thor, and even just to work on a set of Thor as an assistant was a massive experience, great thing, and I never thought that I will experience this in my lifetime. But then when I got an opportunity to be his hand double on the Avengers: Age of Ultron, yeah, that was crazy. I mean, the way it happened was on the day they would call in 6 of us, sort of same height as him, approximately the same body type, body structure, but I would never say that I have the same body as Chris Hemsworth. That's a whole other level. Anyway, so 6 of us come in early in the morning, and then it was sort of a Cinderella situation. We would have to try on his costume, and whoever fits best gets the job. So yeah, I was lucky enough to fill in his costume and his shoes the best, and yeah, it was straight on to makeup. Now, there's another anecdote. When I entered the makeup room, as usual, as you do, one of the assistant directors says, "Oh, hey, Chris is here. Let's compare the hands." So at some point, I see him sitting there. Somebody grabs my hand, drags it towards Chris. Like, I'm not even important on that day. It's just the hands. And I find myself next to him, like, in a moment. And, when you don't expect that, it shocks you a bit more than it would otherwise. But anyway, you can imagine I was starstruck. And all he says is, "Oh, hey, nice hands." At that point, I couldn't come up with anything better to say than "thank you."
So what kind of, like, with your hand, did you get to kind of touch Thor's mighty hammer, and what does a hand model sort of do on a kind of a big movie like Avengers: Age of Ultron? Because I know when I'm going to watch Age of Ultron, I'll be watching more attention to the hands than anything else next time.
And I wish I could touch the Mjolnir, but what I had to do was it was pretty much the same when he points at some pictures when they're going through all these different documents. So yeah, nothing too exciting in terms of story, but yeah, for me just to be Thor's hands for a day was incredible.
And then obviously you became his double on Huntsman as well. What kind of double were you on that? Was it hands, or was it more of a sort of a body double again?
That was actually a stand-in double. So I didn't do anything that you would see in the film. Stand-in doubles are doubles that when the crew has to set up lights, set up camera, different camera angles, try out special effects, somebody that's sort of the same height, same body type would stand in for that hour or two, so they don't tire Chris, but they tire someone who's cheaper. And afterwards he comes in and does his stuff. So it's exciting because you do a lot of the same scenes, same movements that he would. And you get to be part of that process. You get to see how the set works. You get a lot of experience, even as an actor. So for other future projects. But yeah, it was exciting. I mean, I worked mainly with second unit on The Huntsman, which I think it's probably even better because you get to see all the stunt work. Yeah, that was an exciting one as well.
And did you think at that moment, you think, was there any talk of like bringing you over to see sort of like Infinity War or Thor 3 is a movie I can't wait for personally? Was there any talk of like being the double on that, or has he sort of got his own sort of standby man now?
I mean, there are a couple of other guys who do it more regularly. So at that point, to be honest, I wasn't really thinking forward that much. For me, it was just a cool job that I got to do. And anyway, acting is my main thing, my main sort of job, or what I'm going for. So all this assisting and doubling was just sort of a way to pay rent in London and to survive in London, which is not cheap at all.
And is that kind of how you got involved with, say, kind of going back to sort of 2014 with Kingsman? That was kind of a London-based production. Sort of, there's a bit of the trend. I think was that Pinewood Kingsman was shot on?
Yeah, it's Pinewood. It's Pinewood Studios. Actually, in London, I was doing two things. I was studying film and TV production. I was working as an assistant on films, but then I started working as an actor. I went to like small auditions, small projects, short films, commercials, music videos. And at some point, I was lucky enough to get contacted by my current agent, Patrick Hambleton. And through him, I got my first audition for a big feature film, which was Kingsman: The Secret Service. And yeah, I was lucky enough to go in, do the audition, and got cast as a minor role, but hey, it was one line. On the credits, I can see my name next to Colin Firth, Samuel L. Jackson, Michael Caine, like the legends of acting. So,
and for people that maybe haven't seen Kingsman, do you want to describe the scene you sort of appear in, and what kind of interaction you had in that?
yeah, sure. I mean, you can, if you watch the screenshot of my scene, you've pretty much seen it all. But anyway, I work as Arctic Guard, so one of the Valentine's army, private army. Valentine is the main villain of the film, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who did it brilliantly, by the way. In the scene when there's a Swedish Prime Minister arriving to this party organized by Valentine, you can see me next to a massive rocket launcher, saying my line, Swedish Prime Minister requesting permission to land. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my Kingsman the Secret Service appearance.
And what was it like to be on kind of the Kingsman set? Had you read the comic book before it, or were you familiar with like Matthew Vaughn's work?
I was familiar with Matthew Vaughn's work for sure. I didn't read the comic book before, and to be honest, I didn't really know what to expect from the film. I didn't know much about it. Even in terms of the script, I wouldn't get the whole script because the role was that small. And yeah, funny enough, I didn't really get my line, my text, not just up to the day when I was filming, but up to the minute before we shot the scene. I remember standing on the spot. You know, they on film set it's like that. Like before it's your time as an actor, it's very busy, very loud. Everyone's doing their job. Blah, 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 blah. But then at some point, everyone goes quiet, and then you know everyone is ready, and it's time for you to shine. And at that point, I was standing there on the spot. Everything was ready, and I still didn't know what's my line. What am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? Matthew Vaughn walks up to me. He's like, "Oh, so what should you say?" And he came up with that line on the spot. Oh, I mean, it's nothing complicated, but still, it was my first feature film of like size like that. So yeah, honestly, I was really nervous at that point. But we did it. It was all good. And yeah, from then on, at that point, I wasn't really aware like how lucky I was to get a part through my first audition for a big feature film. Because now, after like, I don't know, hundreds of those, I can see that the percentage is really, really small. So, you know, it's almost like winning a lottery.
It must have been surreal as well to like be studying at school and then to be kind of, you know, your Avengers, your Kingsmans, to be involved in that. It must be quite surreal to go back to your fellow classmates to go, "Oh, so what were you up to last night?" "Oh, I was just working on Avengers and such." Like, was that quite an interesting dynamic at the school?
It was for sure. I mean, I remember on the day when I was filming Kingsman. So I was still living on campus, and in the morning, again, a black Mercedes would come on campus to pick me up with a driver. He would open the door for me, and I was like, "Yeah, you don't have to do that. You know, like I'm just doing this for a day. I'm not used to this." But then on the other hand, my classmates were on the balcony and they were like cheering.
That must have been awesome. Because and obviously then after kind of Kingsman, you had we'll obviously touch on sort of your Assassin's Creed work, but then, you know, the little old Star Wars came along, and anyone that follows you on any sort of social media, I think was rooting for you. I think you were kind of living the dream that all of us wanted to, where, oh my God, I've got a role in Star Wars, and you can see yourself on screen. What was the audition process like for Star Wars, first and foremost? How did you get that call? Because I'm sure every actor in London and the world was hoping to get that call for any sort of role.
Well, with Star Wars, it was like that. There were these open casting calls all across the States and UK as well. And I just thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go there and see what happens. It was very early in my acting career. To be honest, like, I wasn't really aware of what it takes to, to do an audition like that. And all that. But I went there. I thought, let's see what happens. And I would arrive there, I think it was like an hour before the audition started. I mean, the casting started. There was already 1,000 people in the line in front of me. It was at Wembley Stadium. There was an early train that we all took, and I think everyone left the train at the same station because everyone was going there. Open casting calls aren't regular, don't happen often. Usually, these castings are much more closed. You need to have an agent to go to it. You need to be with the right agent. They have to have a good relationship with the casting directors, all sort of things. I went there. I came to I think it was second round on that day. At that time they were looking for the main characters such as Kylo Ren, Finn, Rey. But nothing happened, and I just didn't get it, of course.
And what was that process like? Kind of, how you were saying they're looking for the Finns and Reys. Like, what kind of in the audition were they asking certain things, or to act out certain scenes from, say, some other random movies? How did they sort of try to find these big names in amongst this open casting?
Yeah, so the first round was just based on the appearance. I think they were looking for certain looks as well. After that, in the second round, it would be your resume and a couple of questions about you, about yourself, about your career, about your favorite actors, things like that. Then in the round that I didn't get to, I know that they had to act out a scene that was a random scene. It wasn't the Force Awakens or a Star Wars scene. They just had to do some other scene. Because it was top secret at that time, of course. And like I said, for 7 months, I wouldn't hear about it. I just didn't get it. But then after that, through a different agency, I would get this pretty much extra part because I had no lines. I mean, there was a possibility for some lines to be given, but yeah, it just ended to be an extra part. I didn't know that it's Star Wars. I got invited for a costume fitting for a film called AVCO, so AVCO, the code name for the Force Awakens. But I didn't know that at that time. And I would get there to Pinewood Studios, come in, and in the moment when I saw a massive line of Stormtrooper costumes, bing, I knew it's Star Wars. Oh my God. So yeah, and then I got cast as a resistance soldier, resistance trooper, and from there on, it was just an exciting roller coaster of so many moments that I never thought I would experience in my lifetime.
Because you hit the jackpot in terms of your scene to be an extra in. So for people that haven't seen the scene, and I'm sure as soon as you start describing it, everyone will kind of click, wait, you're that guy that was in that scene. Do you want to tell people a little bit about the scene you appeared in?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the scene that I'm the most recognizable in is when we see General Leia for the first time, when she meets Han after that battle. And I'm the guy guarding the entrance to the ship that she arrived with on the left-hand side of the screen. Just standing there at the back while Leia, C-3PO, and Han have their little conversation. And I just remember being there on the set that day, and it was, yeah, I know I use this word so much, but it was surreal. Standing there, seeing Han Solo in front of me, Leia, just having that talk.
It must have been
like
sitting
in the front row, like standing there.
Because it must have been surreal, because you pretty much none of the movie has much of the core cast together, and this is like the first time Solo and Leia are reunited in years. And even as a fan, it's an amazing moment to watch. Like, what was it like for yourself just watching again? Like, oh my god, that's Solo and Leia. Like, is it hard to be a professional in that moment? And how do you kind of, battle being a fan and being a professional?
See, luckily enough, I didn't really have to battle that, to be honest. I mean, because the role wasn't complicated in any way. I was just standing there with a straight face and actually looking in their direction. So I didn't have to pretend at all. But it was one of the best days on the Force Awakens set for me. Like, I remember a moment when I was standing next to J.J. Abrams when he was looking at his monitor. They were doing the same scene but from a different angle, so I wasn't needed at that time. So I would stand at the back, and I just remember hearing him say to his first assistant director, "How awesome is this? Like, we're working on Star Wars." And when you see JJ being a massive fan, and he was like a big kid on the set, just running around, directing every little droid on the set, having conversations with everyone, with extras. There was at some point he would just give me a high five. When you see him being a massive fan, when you see everyone on the crew being a massive fan, that they're excited to be there, that they don't mind doing 12-hour, 14-hour days, because it's an iconic project that you're working on. It's just, again, surreal.
And what was it like? Obviously, kind of, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher, but what was it like to work with Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford? Like, what were they like as actors, and what were they like, with you personally? Did you get much interaction with them?
I didn't have much interaction in terms of like one-on-one conversation, but they were very open. They would have a quick chat with us extras when they would arrive on set. Carrie she would crack jokes all the time.
Did you have what was the best joke she cracked?
I can't think of one at the moment. But there's an anecdote that I have with Harrison Ford. At that scene when we're all in the Resistance Bay just before the last attack on the Star Killer. Just before the shot, again at that moment when it all goes quiet, he would turn around towards us. I was standing like just behind him. He'd turn around, look at us, and then say, "If anyone acts better than me, you're out." He turns back in action. Like at that point, you're just like confused. Man. I mean, of course he's joking, but he has this dry sense of humor, this poker face humor. But yeah, he was a great guy. Yeah.
And what was it like being in the sort of the Resistance base? Because it's like a who's who of sort of Star Wars. You've got your BB-8s, you've got your R2-D2s, you've got Admiral Akbars, and there you are right in the middle of it. What was that kind of like to be in that set?
I mean, you can guess it was surreal. But yeah, the biggest starstruck moment that I had was when R2-D2 passed by. For me, that was one of the moments when I was like, when I really realized that I'm in Star Wars, like I'm on a Star Wars set. And what really helped towards this was that as much as they could, they made all the sets, all the props, all the creatures in special effects, so they would actually be there. Mm-hmm. They weren't made with computers. It wasn't visual effects, so it was actual practical props, practical effects. And for anyone, but especially I think for actors, that means that wherever you turn, it's Star Wars. It's not green screen like it would be on the Avengers when they would just add in everything else in post. But yeah, it's Star Wars. Wherever you turn, there are little droids going around. Next to you, there's Admiral Akbar or some other crazy-looking creature that actually has facial expressions because of animatronics and everything. So yeah, it just adds to the experience. I mean, the outside scenes that we shot for the Resistance base, when I stepped on that set, it was in Green Uncommon.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
An old, I think it was on RAF base. And I stepped on that set, and you look towards one end, and you can see X-wings just parked as far as you can see, and you look towards the other end, you can see Millennium Falcon at the end, and there are droids running up and down, and then next second there's Harrison Ford on a bicycle, just cycling towards Millennium Falcon.
And I mean, I'm just listening to that and thinking, man, I just couldn't imagine, as you say, how surreal that must have been and how lucky you must have been. And one thing I'm thinking there is like how difficult that is. Like, obviously you get these NDAs, disclosures. How difficult is it to, hang out with Harrison Ford, Princess Leia, robots, Millennium Falcon, and then like at night just be like, could you talk much about what you did, or how did that sort of period of time go, or was it a bit of a surprise at the time going, by the way, I can now tell you, I'm in Star Wars?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, at that time, I couldn't tell anyone. I mean, I wasn't allowed to tell anyone about it up to the premiere. Even on this set, like when we would arrive on the set in the morning, we would have to give our phones to the security. Sometimes they would keep them for the whole day. Sometimes they would just put a sticker over the camera on the phone so you can take pictures. If we stepped out of the stage, we would have to put on robes, sort of hoodies that completely covered the whole costume, so no photographers, paparazzi could get any photos of the costumes. It was tight security. I mean, anyway, it was the most expected film of at least century. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was. I mean, it was hard not to talk about it. I did tell like my family, but that was it. I would just tell them, "Hey, I'm doing this," but I wouldn't talk about details because I mean, it's hard to not tell someone where you were going for good 2 weeks.
And then when the film obviously came out, that here for probably all of us, we're watching going, here's the new Star Wars. What was it like for you opening night? What was your opening night experience where you're off to see this movie and knowing you're in it? Was there any worries you're like, oh my god, maybe I'm cut off slightly at the frame? What was the kind of nerves, excitement going through you on that first night?
I didn't know if I'm gonna be in the film or not, if I'm gonna be seen in the film or not. So yeah, for me, I was just hoping. I was just hoping that I have that like one frame where I'm recognizable and I can print it out and put it on my wall as a memory, as a souvenir. But anyway, the memories itself, the experience was the biggest souvenir I could get. So yeah, when I watched the film. Even at the opening credits, I started crying. I was crying like a baby, just because the music itself, the Star Wars title, it brought the memories of the experience, and it brought the whole thought of, whoa, 5 years ago, I was standing there in Tunisia, and I was hoping that I could be a part of this, picking up litter or something. I never imagined that I'm gonna get the opportunity to actually be a part of Star Wars on screen, on set. So yeah, it was an emotional experience, and then I got to actually see myself on screen, which was amazing, the most amazing thing. I watched that film in cinema 4 times because, of course, then I had to take my mother, my father, friends. Everyone wanted to sit in the cinema. They didn't want to wait for the Blu-ray to come out.
And was there ever anyone, just like when your scene comes up, giving them a wee nudge, hey, this is me coming up, and there's someone in the back row going, hey, quiet down there, or anything?
I mean, anyway, I had to tell everyone when they have to be on their toes to spot me, because obviously, if you don't know where to look, no one's going to be looking at the left-hand side at the back when you see Leia for the first time in the film. So yeah, there was that, but I think we kept it down enough for everyone else to enjoy the movie.
And am I correct in assuming that you actually, there's a Lego version of you? Is there?
I mean, there's a Lego version of a guy who wears exactly the same costume as I did on the set. I had two costumes on the set. One was the sort of resistance base, the one, and then there's the one that I was wearing in that scene with Leia and Solo. So yeah, the costume that I was wearing in resistance base was made into Lego. Just the hair color was wrong, so I had to switch that one from my old Lego set. So I wouldn't say there's me made in Lego, but there is the characters that I did.
And then after kind of Star Wars, where did you sort of go after that? Because obviously you got involved in the Assassin's Creed game, and as well as being an actor, you do quite a lot of voice work. What's the process of getting involved in, Assassin's Creed to some is just as big as Star Wars. What was the process of getting involved in that?
So yeah, after Star Wars happened quite early in terms of my acting career, and I don't really, it doesn't count the same as Kingsman, the Secret Service, in terms of that was the actual part, that was an actual cast, while Star Wars was an extra part. So it wouldn't really help me much in terms of acting career, but as an experience was amazing. Assassin's Creed happened completely separate to that. So I did voiceover for Assassin's Creed Chronicles, Russia. I did voiceover for Russian guards, Bolshevik guards, which you can imagine was really hard for me with this accent. I saw a casting on one of the casting platforms that I was following at that time, and just going to auditions and applying to auditions through that. I saw a casting for some video game. I didn't know what it was. I applied for that, sent them a demo, and they chose me for the Russian guard part. There was three of us doing voiceovers for that. So every third guard in the game is me, has my voice. So yeah, if anyone's going to be playing it, please be gentle with those guys.
And then, obviously, kind of with auditioning for kind of audio things like this, what's kind of the audition process for something like that? Is it just sort of reading out the game lines, or do they sort of have vocal exercises? I've always been quite curious about something like that.
In this case, Assassin's Creed, it was just reading out lines for that would actually be used for the game then afterwards. Recently, I started doing voiceovers, dubbing for different cartoon series that will be dubbed in Slovenian. I just finished Beyblade Burst, which for me again was such a cool experience. I used to play with Beyblades as a kid, and now I got to do voiceover for that. I already got the Beyblade of my character. I bought it. But yeah, it's not. I mean, when I get to do sound tests for this kind of projects, it would basically just be as the same thing as I would be doing afterwards on the project. I would come into the studio. You see the cartoon, you see the movie on the screen. You get the lines in front of you, and you just try to match it as best as you can with the original lines, because a lot of words, a lot of phrases in English, for example, I don't know, are shorter or longer than they would be in Slovenian. So you have to get creative with the way you say it. Maybe add a couple of words, maybe use a different word. It's a very fun and creative process. Well, on the other hand, with Assassin's Creed Chronicles, I was the original voice, where I didn't have to pay attention to how long the thing is, how I say it, but I had a director in the studio as well who advised me in terms of the tone, in terms of what I needed. And one fun thing actually about Assassin's Creed was that I had to record all the noises of when the guards get stabbed, shot, I don't know, strangled. So yeah, it looks like, okay, we need 20 good versions of you being stabbed, and then you just go and you do them. Okay, now you get stabbed, but with a hand over your mouth. 20 of those. Okay, now you get shot, and you just sit there in front of the microphone in a white room, and you think to yourself, what the hell am I doing?
Was it one of those things where all that playtime as a kid, because we've all done it, where we've played, we've been shot, stabbed, is that where all that kind of childhood magic kind of comes to life?
Yeah, of course, but I mean, it's the whole acting thing that I think it comes from the childhood. Like, I mean, I still feel like I'm playing. It's what you do as a kid. You pretend, you role play, and that's what I like about acting. It's that I can experience and live things that probably never would in my normal life.
And I'm quite curious about one thing. Like, we were talking about Slovenia, and kind of that's your background and your home. What's the cinema industry like there? Is there much of like a homegrown kind of film talent there in terms of films, productions, or is it a lot of the talent from there kind of going across Europe, America to find work or create work?
Slovenia, as I said, is a small country, so the film industry itself is much smaller. We would have like, I don't know, maybe six feature films produced per year. That's quite a big number. I'm not sure about that, but anyway. So yeah, I'm not going to say there isn't a lot happening. It's just there isn't a lot of finance for all these productions to happen. So it's all very low budget. And so I think most of the young actors try to work abroad as well, if they can. The most successful Slovenian actress is Katarina Čas. She did Wolf of Wall Street for Martin Scorsese and some other films. Most of the actors in Slovenia, actually, they work full-time in theater, and then they would, here and there, they would work on a film as well, or some Slovenian TV series. So for me, it was kind of very much different career path than for most of Slovenian actors, because I didn't study acting here. All my sort of acting education happened in UK, but like I said, I studied film and TV production. I did some workshops. I worked with acting coach. So I started my acting career in UK. So at first I would work on UK projects, smaller ones. Then Kingsman happened. Star Wars, Assassin's Creed, some short films. There's a Bollywood film as well that just came out that I did in UK. And only after that, I came back to Slovenia and started working on things here as well.
And what are you working on just at the moment, as we start to wrap up? What are you working on, or what can people kind of keep an eye out for through? Obviously, you've got a big presence on things like Instagram, and what kind of projects have you got coming up? And is there anything that you can share that's on the horizon?
So I just had a premiere opening night of my first kids play, my first theater project actually. I did that. It was a whole new experience. I always wanted to try it, and I think I'm going to do some more of that if the time's going to allow me. There's a web series coming out, Slovenian web series. Sort of the story evolves around artificial intelligence and how it can all go wrong. Other than that, yeah, I'm working on getting some more international projects. There's one Bollywood project coming up. I can say that, but I unfortunately I can't really tell you more. But yeah, to stay up to date with my work, you can follow me on Instagram or like my Facebook page, Andrei Lenart. Instagram is more up to date, so make sure you do that as well. Because I try to keep people informed about what I'm up to, what I'm doing, and I do it all in a light-hearted, funny way.
Well, Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all these amazing stories with us. It's been absolutely fantastic to finally talk with you, and to talk with someone that was on a Star Wars set. I mean, that you rarely get anything like that. So I really appreciate it, and good luck with everything that you've got coming on. And if you ever want to come on again and tell us about working on your Bollywood movies and any other projects, you're more than welcome.
Thank you so much, Lee. For sure, we'll keep in touch. And thanks everyone for listening.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.
Welcome to Nerd Party.